Welcome to our video, where we uncover the truth behind Wild Bill Hickok's deadly reputation. Wild Bill Hickok is a legendary figure in the Wild West, known for his sharpshooting skills and fearless attitude. He is often portrayed as a gunslinger who never missed his target and always came out on top. But was that really the case? In this video, we will take a closer look at the man behind the myth and separate fact from fiction. Before we dive into the story, we would like to ask you to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content like this. Now, let's get started. Wild Bill Hickok, whose real name was James Butler Hickok, was born in 1837 in Illinois. As a young man, he tried his hand at various professions, including farmer, teamster, and even a professional gambler. But it was his skills with a gun that set him apart from the rest. As a young man, Wild Bill Hickok discovered his natural talent for shooting. He honed his skills until he became a crack shot with a gun, earning a reputation that soon spread far and wide across the Wild West. With his fearsome reputation preceding him, Wild Bill quickly found employment as a lawman in several towns, including Abilene, Kansas. His prowess with a gun made him the perfect candidate to serve as an enforcer of the law in a town where violence and crime were rampant. Wild Bill quickly became known as a no-nonsense lawman who was not to be trifled with. But Wild Bill's talents were not limited to just law enforcement. When the Civil War broke out, he joined the Union Army as a scout. His sharpshooting skills soon came to the fore, and he distinguished himself as one of the best sharpshooters in the Army. His feats of marksmanship were so impressive that he was often called upon to demonstrate his skills to other soldiers. Through his service as a scout, Wild Bill was able to develop a keen sense of situational awareness, which would serve him well in his later years as a lawman. He learned to read the terrain, identify potential threats, and anticipate the movements of his enemies. These skills would prove invaluable in his many encounters with outlaws and criminals. In summary, Wild Bill Hickok was not just a crack shot, but a master of the art of shooting. His skills with a gun earned him a reputation as a formidable lawman, while his service as a scout in the Civil War honed his senses and sharpened his instincts. Together, these attributes made him one of the most feared and respected figures of the Wild West. Wild Bill Hickok's deadly reputation was forged during his time in Abilene, where he faced down some of the most notorious outlaws and criminals of the Wild West. He was involved in several shootouts, where he supposedly killed numerous men. The most famous of these shootouts was the McCannell's Massacre, which took place in 1861. At the time, Wild Bill was working for a man named David McCannell's, who had lent money to a group of men known for their criminal activities. When the men came to collect the debt, they found Wild Bill and a group of other men waiting for them. The ensuing gunfight was short but intense, and several members of the McCannell's gang were killed. The McCannell's Massacre cemented Wild Bill's reputation as a fearless gunslinger who was not to be messed with. But how much of this reputation was true? Some historians argue that the incident was exaggerated or even fabricated by Wild Bill himself, who was eager to burnish his own legend. Despite these doubts, there is no denying that Wild Bill Hickok was involved in numerous shootouts over the course of his life. He faced down some of the most dangerous and notorious outlaws of the Wild West, including members of the James Younger gang and the notorious gunfighter John Wesley Hardin. Wild Bill's reputation as a deadly gunslinger was also bolstered by his distinctive appearance. He wore his hair long, with two braids framing his face, and a large black hat that added to his imposing presence. He was also known for carrying a pair of Colt revolvers, which he could draw with lightning speed. But Wild Bill was more than just a cold-blooded killer. He was also a man of honor and integrity, who believed in upholding the law and protecting the innocent. He often put himself in harm's way to protect others, and his bravery in the face of danger was legendary. It is difficult to separate fact from fiction when it comes to Wild Bill's deadly reputation. There is no denying that he was involved in several shootouts, but the actual number of men he killed is up for debate. Some historians believe that Wild Bill only killed a handful of men, while others claim that the number is closer to a dozen. Despite his fearsome reputation, Wild Bill Hickok was not invincible. His life came to a sudden and tragic end in Deadwood, South Dakota, in 1876. It was a typical summer day, and Wild Bill was playing poker in the back room of Nuttall and Mann's saloon. As Wild Bill sat at the poker table, focused on his game, a man named Jack McCall walked into the saloon. McCall was a disgruntled former employee of Wild Bill's, who had been fired for not doing his job properly. He had been nursing a grudge against Wild Bill ever since, and now he had come to settle the score. McCall walked up behind Wild Bill and shot him in the back of the head. The bullet entered his skull and lodged behind his left eye, killing him instantly. The other players at the table were stunned, and it took them a moment to realize what had happened. McCall fled the scene of the crime, but he was soon captured and brought to trial. He claimed that he had killed Wild Bill in revenge for the death of his brother, who had been killed by Wild Bill in a previous altercation. But the jury was not convinced, and McCall was found guilty of murder. The death of Wild Bill Hickok sent shockwaves through the Wild West. He had been one of the most famous and respected figures of his time, and his sudden and violent death was a tragedy that was felt across the country. Many people mourned his passing, and his funeral was attended by hundreds of mourners. Despite his tragic end, Wild Bill Hickok's legacy lived on. His exploits as a lawman, sharpshooter, and gambler had made him a legend in his own time, and his name would go down in history as one of the most iconic figures of the Wild West. Today his memory is still celebrated, and his story continues to fascinate and inspire us. The question of what really earned Wild Bill Hickok his deadly reputation remains a topic of debate among historians and Wild West enthusiasts to this day. But what is undeniable is that he lived in a time of great lawlessness and violence, where survival often depended on one's skill with a gun. As a lawman and a scout for the Union Army, Wild Bill was no stranger to danger. He had been involved in numerous shootouts and had faced down some of the most notorious outlaws of his time. And while the exact number of men he had killed may never be known, there is no doubt that he was a crack shot who could hold his own in a gunfight. But perhaps what truly set Wild Bill apart from other gunslingers of his time was his sense of honor and justice. He believed in upholding the law and protecting the innocent, and he was not afraid to stand up to those who would try to exploit or harm others. This made him both respected and feared among those who knew him. In the end, Wild Bill's deadly reputation may have been a double-edged sword. While it certainly helped to cement his place in history as one of the most iconic figures of the Wild West, it also made him a target for those who wanted to prove themselves by taking down a legend. And sadly, it was this very reputation that would ultimately lead to his untimely demise. So, while we may never know the full truth behind Wild Bill's deadly reputation, what we do know is that he was a man who lived and died by the gun. His story is a testament to the grit, determination, and sense of honor that characterized the Wild West, and his memory will continue to inspire and fascinate us for generations to come. We hope you enjoyed our video about the truth behind Wild Bill Hickok's deadly reputation. We would like to remind you to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content like this. Thank you for watching.